the risk that hides inside everyday decisions. When people think about risk, they imagine big decisions, major investments, strategic shifts, high-stakes moves. But the most dangerous risks rarely come from dramatic moments. They come from everyday decisions. The quick approval given without much thought. The shortcut taken to save time. The assumption that this will be fine. These decisions feel harmless because they are familiar. They don't trigger alarms. They don't require board approval. And yet, this is exactly where risk hides best. Everyday decisions shape behavior. They define what is acceptable. They quietly set the tone for how risk is treated. By the time risk becomes visible, it has already been reinforced hundreds of times through small, routine choices. Everyday decisions escape scrutiny because they feel too small to question. People think, this isn't strategic. This doesn't need escalation. We've done this many times. Speed plays a major role. When organizations move fast, reflection feels like delay. So decisions become automatic. People rely on habit instead of judgment. They repeat what worked last time. They assume tomorrow will look like yesterday. The problem is not that people are careless. It is that familiarity creates comfort, and comfort dulls attention. Risk hides in places where no one feels the need to pause. The first time a shortcut is taken, it feels temporary. The second time, it feels practical. The third time, it feels normal. This is how decisions turn into norms. Once a behavior becomes routine, it stops being questioned. No one asks, is this still safe? Does this still make sense? They ask, why change it now? Risk does not appear suddenly. It is slowly embedded into daily operations. Over time, people forget that a choice was ever made. It simply becomes how things are done. This is the most dangerous stage of risk, when it no longer looks like a decision, but like a rule of life. Consider a common workplace situation. An approval process exists to manage risk, but it slows things down. To meet deadlines, teams start approving informally. Messages replace documentation. Verbal confirmations replace records. Initially, nothing goes wrong, so the behavior spreads. Soon, the formal process exists only on paper. Everyone knows the real way to get things done. Months later, a serious issue occurs. There is no clear trail. Responsibility is unclear. Leadership asks, how did this happen? But the answer lies in dozens of everyday decisions, where convenience slowly replaced control. Everyday decisions feel harmless because the impact is delayed. The benefit is immediate. Faster work, smoother flow, less friction. The risk, however, is invisible. Humans naturally prioritize immediate rewards over distant consequences. So people say, it's just this once. We'll fix it later. This isn't a big deal. But risk does not require intention to grow. It only requires repetition. Small decisions accumulate quietly. They compound, and one day, the accumulated exposure surfaces, often far away from the original choices that created it. Leadership behavior plays a powerful role. When leaders reward speed over reflection, people optimize for speed. When results matter more than how they are achieved, process discipline weakens. No one is told to ignore risk, but people learn what truly matters. They notice which decisions are questioned and which are not. Over time, everyday risk-taking becomes invisible because it aligns with organizational signals. Risk is not encouraged. It is simply tolerated. And tolerated risk quietly becomes part of culture. When failure finally occurs, it feels surprising. People say, this came out of nowhere. No one expected this. But the failure was built gradually. It was shaped by repeated shortcuts, unchallenged assumptions, everyday decisions that felt reasonable. The surprise is not that the failure happened. The surprise is that people forgot how it was created. Everyday decisions rarely leave a dramatic trail, but together they reshape systems. What feels unexpected is often just unexamined history. Effective organizations treat everyday decisions seriously. They build pause points into routine work. They ask, why are we doing it this way? What risk are we absorbing here? What happens if this becomes permanent? They encourage questioning of habits, not just strategies. Most importantly, they recognize that culture is shaped daily, not during crisis. Risk management is embedded into small choices, not reserved for big moments. This is how organizations stop risk early, before it becomes expensive. The most dangerous risks rarely announce themselves. They hide inside everyday decisions that feel sensible, efficient, and harmless. But risk does not need drama to grow. It only needs repetition without reflection. The most important risk question is not, what big decision worries us today? It is, what small decisions are we making every day, without thinking about their consequences? Because organizations are not shaped by one defining moment. They're shaped by thousands of ordinary choices that quietly decide what is acceptable and what is not. And that is where the most powerful risks truly live.